Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to another one of our Breslov Research web seminars. This week is Parshat Chukat. It's a very interesting parsha. It moves through a lot of different scenarios. We'll try and cover them. Chukat starts off with the laws of the red heifer. King Solomon in Koheles says, Omarti echkema v'hi rechoka mimeni. I thought I would be wise, but I find that wisdom is very, very distant from me. Why? Because he wanted to understand the laws and the reasoning behind the red heifer. The red heifer was a completely red cow, including the hairs on the cow. So it was taken and slaughtered ritually, and then it was burned, and the ashes were brought to the temple. The ashes then were spread out in the temple and in the entire Jewish nation, throughout the entire area of the land of Israel. And they were mixed with water, and they were kept pure. They were not defiled in any way. And if somebody became impure through contact with a dead body, such as a grave digger or someone who did the Heifer Kadisha, whatever it may be, so they had to have the ashes of this red heifer sprinkled upon them twice during a week, on the third day and on the seventh day, and then they had to go to mikveh and they were pure. That's the basic laws of the red heifer. And the interesting part of it is the one who does the sprinkling, see, he becomes impure by sprinkling the water and the ashes on the impure person, while the impure person becomes pure. The pure person who was, till now, he took the ashes, he becomes impure. So in Hebrew it's called metame tahirim or metaher tameim. It makes impure those who are pure, and it makes pure those who are impure. Does that make any sense? Not to us. We're human. Could we understand what Hashem wants? Right? We don't know. We don't understand it. And it doesn't make sense. But we believe that it is true. We believe that it is true. The idea behind it is what King David said. My hands are bloodied every day in order to make a woman pure for her husband. He's talking about Klal Yisrael. The Gemara says, Gemara and Brachos, that those who are very great tzaddikim will mingle with the crowds, with the people who have committed sins, and they will become friends with them. And those who are pure become a little bit impure. I mean, you have to get involved with a conversation about who knows what. Rosh Hashanah in Uman one year, somehow we got involved with a conversation. There was a fellow who was big in the music business with us, and he mentioned Elvis Presley. You imagine sitting in Uman Rosh Hashanah and starting to talk about Elvis Presley? It was a very weird experience. But the person came to Uman for Rosh Hashanah, and he said the 10 chapters, and he became somewhat pure, at least at Rosh Hashanah. Whereas a lot of us who were not interested in Elvis, we had to hear it. But that's what it's all about. It's a person taking himself from his level, wherever you think you are, because who knows if you're even pure. But let's say you are. But sometimes you have to do something that's a little bit out of the way. It's a little bit below your station, beneath your dignity, in order to be able to help somebody who's nowhere near you, and to elevate them and bring them to a higher level. That's what it means to take the pure and make them impure, but the result is taking the impure and making them pure. Because that guy was out of it from the time he defiled himself till he finished the process, which is at least a week. And this person is impure only for a few moments. He goes to mikveh, he becomes pure. So this is one of the most deepest mysteries of how it works, why it has to work that way. But that's the way it really, really works. And if a person merits, right, Rebbe Nachman speaks in his lesson 55, he speaks about the power of the red heifer. He says it's really the power of prayer. A person could take himself from no matter where he is, and he could pray to Hashem, and he could elevate himself with the power of prayer. He has a whole lesson on it. It's long and it's very deep, but suffice it to say that Rebbe Nachman teaches there, through prayer, a person could come to purify himself. Right? You could do it. We can do it. We can elevate ourselves to great levels. The Parsha moves on to the next stage, where Miriam, Moshe Rabbeinu's sister, passes away. Right? The Talmud teaches that the well, there was the original rolling stone, right? The original that went with the Jews throughout the desert. It was in the beginning when they were out there, right after the splitting of the sea. Moshe Rabbeinu hit a stone, and it started flowing water. And whenever the Jews moved encampments from one place to the next, that rolling stone would roll with them. And when they would encamp, the stone would begin to give forth water again. And this is the way it was for the 40 years they were in the desert. And that well came in the merit of Miriam. It's a Gemara in Tainus. The well was because of Miriam. Miriam passed away, the well stopped giving water. Moshe Rabbeinu with Aaron together had to bring back that well, that water. And they were told this time, then Moshe Rabbeinu hit the stone. At this point, he was supposed to speak to the stone. Just speak to it. And he didn't. He struck the stone. Because he struck the stone, he was denied entry into the land of Israel. That's what the Torah tells us. And what happened here? I mean, he already struck the stone once. What's the big deal? He has to specifically speak to the stone? Except that Hashem was telling Moshe that the most effective way of getting things done is with your power of speech. Yeah, we can use brute force once in a while. We can. Sometimes we do. A lot of times we use brute force because we lose our temper. No good. You can't do that. You can't hit the kid because you got angry at him. You can't force yourself upon somebody else because you decide it's the right thing. No. There are times you have to learn to speak to people, communication, open up that bridge and let yourself get across to the other people so that you could truly and be'emes, with truth, with honesty, get across. Speak even to a stone. The stone will give water. That was the lesson that Moshe Rabbeinu was told to do. And because he didn't, he was denied entry into the land of Israel. The Torah continues with the story of the Jews coming to the area, the country of Edom. And Moshe Rabbeinu asked for permission to cross over the border and just make his way to the land of Israel. The Edomites refused. And they came out with a fight, with a battle. Moshe Rabbeinu walked away from it. You don't have to force yourself. He learned the lesson. Don't force it. And then there's a few other incidents the Jews had with the manna. They got tired of eating only manna. Imagine, there was no kosher delight, or there was no McDonald's or White Rose or who knows what in the desert. They're going in the desert, right? They had no facilities. They said, we're tired of it. And the man was heavenly food. So the Hashem sent a plague of snakes to bite them. And why snakes? Because the manna had a tendency, whatever you wanted to taste, you could have tasted. You wanted a 1/4 pound hamburger, you got it. You wanted a thick steak, you got it. You wanted a salad with Thousand Island dressing, you got it. Right? You wanted fruits and vegetables. Whatever you touched from the manna, you were able to eat any kind of food that you wanted. The snake is cursed that whatever he eats turns to dust. So you don't like food which you can taste everything, so you can get bitten by snakes. That a snake represents also slander. And all these different types of problems that come along, right? You can get beaten by it, by snakes, by slander, by improper speech. So the Torah is telling you, avoid improper speech. The next part of the Parsha is the praise, the song that the Jews issued over being supplied by the water that Hashem supplied them in the desert. In the desert, wherever they needed water, they got water. And the Parsha finishes off with the battle of Moshe Rabbeinu and the Jews against Sichon and Og, 2 giant brothers who controlled the eastern part of the Jordan River. And they were there, they were paid tribute by all the kings in the land of Israel and on the border, not to let the Jews pass by. They were paid tribute, and they insisted that the Jews do not pass by. So Hashem said, Jews have to go to the land of Canaan. They said no. So Moshe Rabbeinu did battle, and he destroyed the enemies. We have to know that that applies to us too. If we have barriers in order to get into the land of Israel or the land of holiness, we have the ability through the very great tzaddikim to conquer our enemies and get to our destination.